But it was like that series, like Mr. Newspaper gets on the bus.
Welcome to the Tuck Shop Podcast, everybody. We're back for another week, which means we survived another week, David.
We also survived winter. It is now,
Who knows?
what is it?
commit it.
Meteorologically spring.
Oh, yeah, that happened on Friday, didn't it?
And you know what that means? That means the
Absolutely.
birds are chirping. Most of the snow is melted, and it means that guy that walked across campus all winter in shorts now fits in.
Oh, it is always interesting to see when the weather changes and how many people will. A lot of times it's just, that's it, I'm done. I'm committing to spring. I don't care what.
I don't think the weather ever changes here.
Yes, it does.
I think my theory's always been that the weather's always the same. That at least Richland or the campus weather is controlled by the wind speed, the velocity of the wind. I think it's constantly.
It plays a big part in it.
I think we constantly are at 9,000 degrees here, and the wind just regulates how hard it blows,
how hot it gets,
how hot or how cold. So when it's
that's a interesting weather.
It's just another theory that I have.
I would like to kind of figure out why you slipped into these meteorological conspiracies in the last couple of weeks. Like, you've been in the house too much.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's.
Well, you just came off an incident where you the outside of the world was inside your house.
I think what it is, Matt. I've been running out of tin. I've been running out of tinfoil.
There you go.
I think that's what it might be.
Anyway, we're doing good. We're getting towards the end of the term. I'm real excited that I got to send out the emails last week for the 10 juniors that have won our alumni scholarship. Each one of them is going to get a little bit more than $1,000, just a hair over. But that's a big step. So when we're on here and we're talking about events that raise money and funding, that's one of the programs that over a very long time, because the Jeff Fund, the Johnstown Education Fund, dates back into the 80s.
Yep.
So there's been 40 plus years of work to make sure that we're being able to give out and help our kids or help our students get to that last hurdle. So when we talk about events and, hey, maybe you can help out, this is what we're talking about. We're not by any way, shape, or means living in the lap of luxury of us.
Nope.
You're more than welcome to, and if you're interested, come to one of our meetings.
Yeah,
we are scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as keeping our costs down and making sure it's going to as many of the students and their efforts that we can.
But it's again, it's healthy, it's consistent, and a lot of that has to do with the events. It has to do with it's kind of in our rearview mirror now, but we talk a lot at the time of the year about Pitt Day of Giving.
Yeah.
When you make that donation, I don't want to sound like public television all of a sudden, but when you make that donation to Pitt Day of Giving, it goes to things such as the scholarship fund. Even if you made a donation to say, look, it's not Pitt Day of Giving, it's end of year, it's calendar year, I'm just feeling really generous, or I have a windfall and I'd like to make a donation to the Alumni Scholarship Fund, send the check. You can do it online.
Send the check, stop by. We're glad to any way you can think about it. And it does come off like PBS, and it does sound. But one thing that I think is kind of interesting that was dawning on me the other day is maybe you use something and think, boy, you know what? I'm really glad that so and so was there to teach me this thing I learned or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
if you just in your daily life, you think about, hey, this is benefit. Think about the students that are sitting there saying, boy, I wish I like to have that same experience.
Right.
And
a lot of
$10.
Yeah, a lot of times when I talk to alum, they'll at the first one of the first things they ask me, and it's experience driven. Excuse me. And one of the first things they ask me is so and so still there?
Yeah.
But that's that. Those are salaries. Those are, classes. Those are, it takes money, but that's that experience that there's a tie-in to the university. But you're right. and again, I don't want to sound cliche-ish, but it does make a difference. You want to believe, but you don't want to believe. There's a student out there that gets to their junior year, and that extra $1,000 got them through their senior year because they just come short, whether it was a change in family income, whether it was some other economic turn in their life that caused them to be maybe short a couple $1,000 to finish their degree. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and we all know them. That's you ask them, did you go to college? And a lot of them say, yeah, I made it all the ways. I was 5 credits short, or I was a semester short.
Yeah.
And those people, a lot of them,
they're out there.
They never go back.
No.
So
Life
it's important.
Gets in the way,
so
and if you kind of want to hear specifically, very early in the show, we did one of the first year. You can go back and listen. We talked to Hannah and Adeline.
Right.
Who were
recipients
received the award one year, and you kind of can hear right from a student. That's kind of the cool part. It's not the money pitch. It's the idea that hey folks, we actually can show you lives that because of your help and your support, we have been able to make better.
Or whenever an alum comes back to do one of the alumni seminars, and they're a recipient of that junior scholarship, and you're kind of like, that's kind of neat. They're out. Started their job. They're coming back to talk to students that are still here, and that's real lives. That's real experiences.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Pretty neat.
Yep.
Speaking of events that go a long way to helping things,
yes,
I did a quick calendar email last week for the alumni board, and I was tired after writing the email. David, we have a boatload of things for what was supposed to be kind of a prep year for building to the 100th anniversary in 27. We're dumb. We did this wrong. We have a lot of stuff coming up, buddy.
But I think what is a lot of this stuff is it's what happens. I mean, it's there. It's going to happen. And granted, we'll talk a little bit about, there are a couple of things that are new that haven't happened in the past, but a lot of it is just, every year they happen, every year they have to be taken care of. A lot of stuff going on. One of the things I know, I just talked a little bit about seminars and senior seminars. The next senior seminar or alumni seminar that's coming up is April 11th. That's Spring Chemistry Alumni Seminar, honoring Dr. Elizabeth Bell Lancella. I keep talking about her retirement, but the department's bringing back 3 featured alumni speakers to address during the seminar. And I'm looking for number 3s, but there's Dr. Heather Eckenrod Stifler, 98, Dr. Joshua Moore, 98, and good golly, I'm looking for. Marcia had sent me the 3rd name.
David's going through his email. But no, cool event. If you're interested in the chemistry side of thing or a natural science alum, registration's online.
It is, and
find the social media.
Absolutely.
I'll grab as many of these links as well that are out there and put them in the description of the show as well, so you can.
3rd speaker, Autumn Nicole.
Okay.
Or Nicole Autumn. Nope, Autumn Nicole. She graduated in 2006.
Nice. So
she'll be back to be part of the seminar. But also a brunch precedes that. The seminars are free. The alumni speakers are free, but you got to let us know you're coming. The dinner it's $20. So register. Deadline for registration is March 27.
So 2 days.
Get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick here. When this hits your feed.
Yeah.
So be on that one.
But that's the one thing. The other thing I think that again, I talked how we did some things that we hadn't done in the past. This year, for the first time in 6 years, Pitt Johnstown's hosting the ASCE Student Symposium. Regional Mid-Atlantic Symposium, which is really cool. That'll be, when is that, Matt? April
17th, 18th, and 19th.
17th, 18th, and 19th. Something we hadn't done, or they hadn't done 6 years ago when they hosted it, is try to involve alumni. We will be on at the Muslin University Center this year.
Correct.
On the 18th from 9:30 to 1:30, maybe a little bit later in the lobby, handing out alumni swag. If you're an alum and you want to come and you want to witness some of the competitions that are going on, some of the presentations, we welcome that. Saturday night on the 18th from 6:30 to 8:30, we will have an alumni, staff, and student reception in the Muslin Center. Live music, I understand.
Adeline York and company. I don't know if their band has a name. They played at Soil Judging. I feel bad that they probably should. I will tell you what, for what you hear as a college band, and you think, oh, okay, no big deal. They are awesome.
So
they are really good.
Straight off the Soil Judging tour.
Yeah, so they are really, really good. Yeah. It's not like, hey, my friends put together a band in college, and then we called it a band, and it was like a hangout club or a drinking party. But no, they are really, really good.
Same thing with that. Watch your emails. There'll be an email invite coming out. They'll be on social media. The other neat thing, it's also going to be live streamed.
I'm working on the live stream. Yeah. We're going to, at least the bridge competition part of it will be live streamed. I know there'll be video later. Brian Houston Engineering is always fantastic to work with. I really do like Brian. He can talk me into doing things, which is funny. Hence the live stream. We're going to try to do the live stream. It should be okay. I'm kind of working on the internet side of it to make sure it works. We got a lot of people coming in. It's going to be a network thing. And then they're going to be drone footage from the Sunday. The concrete canoe competition is that Sunday. It's out of Queen Mahoning. Yep. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on there to that I'm excited to actually just see.
Oh yeah,
it's one of those weird things, and I love all our events, and I'm not trying to like, but you and I have done our tour a lot of campus. We're good at it, and I encourage you to take it. But you know, we've done it. We got it locked down. You kind of get into a rhythm. We haven't seen something like this.
Well, it's
going to be really neat.
The cool thing about this, and again, engineers are going to be invited. I'm opening up to any alum.
Yeah.
Then what's coming, because this is really, truly, again, from what I understand, this truly puts into practice what engineers learn. Building bridges, seeing how much stress they take, making a canoe out of concrete and hoping it floats, presentations, real world stuff. I think they're having a battle bot competition as well.
Yes, I forgot about that. It's like little battle robot.
Yeah, so don't waste this all on just a bunch of engineering students. Come on out. You're an alum. You went through this. Come on out. It's interesting. I got a list of alum that I'm personally inviting from the 70s, and they were really pioneers of some of the engineering to come back and see it. Real life, full color. Bridge competition, concrete canoe competition, battle ball competition, a bunch of different stuff. In that email, there will be a link to the entire 3-day conference or the symposium. Come as you will, come as you may. If you're an alum, I get it all the time. How do I get alumni swag?
Yeah.
Matt, how do you get alumni swag?
You come to an event.
There you go. We'll give you alumni swag.
So really cool. It's going to be a super busy weekend for me because on Friday the 17th is the Path Forward conference that at least I'm a part of. I'm trying to see if we have alumni coming because just through the community side of things. Mm-hmm. But that is the joint conference held by Criminal Justice here that I'm helping out with, and Senator Chris Dush's office. And we're kind of working. They've been here a couple of years ago doing this. They like being on campus to kind of talk about and address the issues on human trafficking. We got some great people coming. Part of the team that put it together, if you're an alum, you would know, and you were involved with the ministries on campus. Pastor Jim Gay, who was here for many, many years, is part of the group who will be on site. Dr. Spector's going to talk. Attorney General Dave Sunday's coming, and then
Dr. Julie Wagner.
well, that's the morning stuff. Then there's a lunch,
But you want to come back and see
then
her.
then in the afternoon there's these training sessions.
Okay.
We have specific tracks for, including one by our own alum, Dr. Wagner. Julie's going to do a presentation on human trafficking recognition for law enforcement. But there's a whole bunch of different tracks that if you are like, boy, you know what, I don't think I'm fit into that, I'm not sure. Yeah, we actually do. One of the things that we wanted to present is people who get into homes. Electricians, plumbers, installers, delivery guys, and people who, hey, you might see something, but you don't recognize it. We have a track for you in the afternoon. If you're a law enforcement, if public safety, a municipal government person, we have a track for you. If you like technology, we have a cyber safety track, dark web stuff, and artificial intelligence. And we even have ones for nursing and education. So a lot of cool stuff. I'll have the link down below if it's something that you or your organization is interesting to. And because of generous help from those of the help from the university and from our sponsors, full day conference with lunch.
There you go.
How much you paying, David?
I
50,
bet it's
$60? How you doing, man? $10.
I thought I was going to go for free. It's just me.
$10 for the whole day. So pretty cool. And if you're a student, if you happen to be a student someplace, it's only $5.
No free lunch.
No, not free lunch.
Not free lunch. Okay.
But it's a good lunch.
It's good lunch.
So that's the
not free.
17th. Other things coming up. We got graduation coming up.
It's
We
lots.
got our alumni board meeting on the 25th. April 1st starts board elections.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that a little bit. Actually, I'm really excited looking at the list. I think I'll talk about, you're going to actually hear from a bunch of these people because a bunch of the people who are registered and you're going to find on your ballot have been on the show.
Oh, yeah, right.
Including today's guest, by the way.
That's true. And if you just wanted to come up and tour campus, that invitation's always there. Give us a ring. Give us a call.
We're here.
And you know what? If you tour campus, you come at the right time, I'll throw in a free lunch.
Yes.
At the cafeteria, of course, but
Which
something
is
nostalgic about that.
the best place.
It is.
So a lot of really cool events coming up, and hopefully we'll see you. And that doesn't even get us into May. One of the big things that I don't want Paul to have stress out too bad, but because I'll mention it now and we'll get more into it later. But end
Golf.
of May,
Yeah.
our annual golf tournament.
Golf
if you want to
coming up.
sponsor, if you want to come golf, social media, all those links are out
Yeah,
there.
you got to watch it.
Keep an eye on it.
Yep.
Across the board.
Keep an eye on it.
So
You know what? I'll even be nice enough to up my offer of a free lunch. If you're nice enough to me, I'll throw in a tuck dog. Or a tuck burger.
lunch and
Tuck,
something
tuck.
from the grill.
Something from the grill. Gotta let me know you're coming.
At this point, it's not a healthy diet to come back to campus with
No,
us,
but
it's okay.
but oh
It's
my gosh.
makes it fun.
It's nostalgic. When was the last time you had a tuck dog? I'm not asking you, but
Yeah, I had a grilled yesterday. I went to got a grilled cheese and French fries yesterday. That grill's nuts. They do such good stuff, and it's like, I think it's just wild because I remember, and alumni, you'll love this because you were there too. I still do it old school. I go in, I fill out the little paper and whatever.
Yep.
But everyone's just through, and because they put in their order in the app, so they
Yeah.
sit in class.
And the little,
it's
like, bags there.
It's 1:45 They're finishing up a math class, and they pull out their phones under the desk and start clicking away. And next thing you know,
it tastes better when you stand in line and wait for it.
you have to earn it.
Yeah, it tastes better. I think I've probably eaten more tuck dogs since I've graduated than I did in my time here.
It's well worth it.
It is. Bacon and cheese.
So we sat down for today's guest. We sat down, had an alumni come back who's kind of on a mission, so a little bit on a
Yeah,
quest.
he
Mark Bursic joined us, and we
Operation
recorded,
Chester the Lobster.
Yeah, we recorded a bunch of a fairly long interview with him talking about everything from his time here to his Chester the Lobster, potentially the first digital cartoon printed in a paper
Ever.
We're working on that one. To talking about AI stuff.
Yeah.
And
What he did after graduation.
Yeah.
I mean,
So there's a period of time
successes.
where Mark and I geek out on technical stuff, and David just kind of exists.
And wonders where Chester the lobster is.
Yeah. But it's really fun. And we get to hear some fun stories about college, David, because you guys were contemporaries.
We were contemporaries.
So
cohorts.
Stay tuned for an interesting story. At least I'll put it that way of a cafeteria interaction between the two of you.
Nostalgia.
If you want to call it that, buddy.
Nostalgia.
All right.
Good stuff.
So let's go over and listen to this interview we did with Mark Bursic, and we'll just roll that right now.
Good deal.
I'm excited to welcome back, because Mark, you were on the show during the media reunion, right?
I did not. The line was too long.
Oh, the line was too long. Okay. Well, for the first time.
It was so
First time
popular.
ever, the line was too long.
It was, the podcast recording was so popular, the line wrapped around the desk,
That's my story. I'm going to stick
the
to
chair.
Well, that's good. That means we're popular, David.
That's what I was going to say. It was something.
So, Mark, welcome.
Thank you.
When were you here at UPJ?
I graduated in December of 91. I was here from 87 to roughly 92.
Okay. And what did you study?
I studied computer science and journalism and rhetoric, apparently. I started out as a computer science major, and then I started to proceed to do sort of a self-designed thing, which isn't a thing anymore, I don't think. But
Sure. No, we can do that.
okay,
Yeah.
So, and that's sort of how it ended up. I think officially, if you pull my transcripts, it'll say rhetoric.
Can we still do rhetoric?
Is it?
That one I do not know.
I'm a rhetorician.
I think we're doing rhetoric right now, aren't we not?
That is true. Well, I'm not trying to be persuasive.
Okay, I just thought we were doing
I just want to, because we're recording here post lunch, where Mark was very kind to explain to me the story where he punched David, and I think we now understand why.
It was at lunch.
Because you
not
guys are
today,
contemporaries, knew each other when you were students.
and much younger.
Yeah, Dave was a junior or a senior when I came in. I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
those 2 years kind of combined,
they merged.
Yeah,
you were on your way out and I was on your way in.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I graduated '88. You had started in '87.
right.
Yeah, well, I actually graduated December '89, so there was that God made it even weirder. But it's an '88 degree.
Yeah, that's the same as what I was. Graduated in December of 91. But some of the university has me listed at graduating in 92 and some 91. It's fuzzy.
Yeah.
Well, that's alumni
I was here,
relations
though.
for you.
There's proof.
There is proof.
There it is.
Because I want to talk a little bit about the proof and some of the reasons that you're actually on campus today to do some cool stuff. But before we get there, let's kind of, what did you then do when you left here?
So after I graduated, I formed a small business with my father, and we worked on a brand new thing called multimedia, and we were about 10 years ahead of our time, and the company sort of nosedived. And I did work. From there, I went to IBM. I worked for IBM for a number of years, and then I went out and ran advertising agencies in Pittsburgh, around the city. Bebopped around about 4 or 5 agencies, and then finally got the idea to build my own agency, and I built my own agency called Political Technology, which built technology and for political campaigns between about 2002 and 2015. I sold that business and licensed my software, that my custom content management system that I developed. I sold that business in 2015, and then I've been just working in the tech world ever since then. I did some cybersecurity work and sold a company that did that, and then worked, and now I work for a company called Civic Science. They do research. They are one of the largest research companies, and they do research, and then they build advertising models based on that. So my experience in broad experience in technology, plus my advertising experience, plus my rhetoric degree.
I was going to say, when someone says, "What do you do with a rhetoric degree?"
Exactly.
There
This
you
is
go.
this is what
Answer
you
the
do.
question.
I do work with AI now, so a rhetoric
We had a
person.
very interesting conversation at lunch about some of the AI stuff you've been doing and how it is I get inundated more from the academic side of the dangers and evil of AI. Like, it just kind of and the funny thing is, because I've talked to faculty members and stuff about it, and it's like, I remember those conversations when the internet was a thing coming on. No one's going to go to the library. Education's going to be completely destroyed because of the internet. It didn't. Or online education. You'll never get a class at Pitt. No,
I
you
have
can't.
this theory. One of my many theories, and honest God, and I have this.
Get ready to swing.
I have this rhetoric oftentimes with people that I think the goal, whether we want to believe it or not, of humankind is to make life easier. From day one, they invented the wheel so they could move things faster. But yet, then we ended up with computers and phones and calculators, and now self-checkout and self-mowing lawnmowers.
It goes back to the plow and
Right.
the shovel.
But
And,
often the other side of the discussion is like, it's putting everybody out of work. But okay, guess what? That's what. Wouldn't we all want to sit around one day and do nothing? And
Well, isn't it interesting that I'm from Pittsburgh and went to school in Johnstown, and isn't it interesting that we're sort of the epicenter of the place where technology displaced
right,
thousands and 1000s of workers, and basically a technology shift in foreign countries basically put a huge group of people, and here I am working and making an AI agent
Right.
on the top of my den in my basement that could potentially take out 20 or 30 workers.
but those 20 or 30 workers could use their time doing something more productive or doing nothing at all. I mean, I know we had Rich Reagan on a couple of weeks ago earlier, and we talked about being in the Detroit auto industry. Cars are now made by robots. You can say you displaced, but you kind of, I don't know, displaced, replaced, kind of reorganized the workforce.
Yeah.
You made your life easier.
it's not going away is the
no.
thing too, and I'd rather adapt to it. But yeah, it's actually kind of cool what you were talking about, doing your own model and your own agent kind of working there. So I think that's my weekend project now to play around with.
I'll give you all my information that I have.
Pretty neat, cool stuff. One of the things that I want to make sure we spend a good chunk of time on is why you're here today. because you didn't just come to be on the show, which anyone's allowed to
I think
do,
it's
and we're
okay.
really
I think
excited.
it's
Right.
overdue library books, right?
You have a mission.
Yeah, so the backstory is when I was here at school, the paper was transitioning from being a paste up print with a waxer Velox pictures, transitioning to becoming a digital medium. A large part of that was because I considered it one of my computer science projects to computerize the newspaper, since I was working on it. And there was this little thing that just started called desktop publishing was sort of happening at the time. Well, I was hired not to do this. I was hired to be the cartoonist for the paper. I just happened to be here when this was sort of happening. Right. And so I got hired to be a cartoonist, and I had this really brilliant idea that I was going to build my cartoon digitally. And then I was going to draw it on my computer, on my Macintosh, and then I was going to then hand them a disc, and then they could take that. And and Dave,
I think we used the disc as a coaster.
Yeah, Dave was like, "What am I going to do with this? Where's
nice
the cartoon?"
coaster. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the coaster.
So I made a deal with the Student Life office. They had a laser printer, and I had them print out my cartoons. It was called Chester the Lobster, and it was 8-bit pixelated kind of thing.
Yep.
And so I printed those out in there, and then I brought them in, and then they used them in the newspaper. And people said, this is pretty cool. And eventually we got some computers for the newspaper, and I set those up. And then eventually we networked them. And then eventually we got our own laser printer. And then we were printing the newspaper there. And by the time I left, we were doing the newspaper completely digitally. Now, this was like 91, which was really early for this.
One of the things I just want to interject here for 1 second. I can remember when Chester the Lobster came along.
Yeah.
And it was this, you're right, it was this digital computer generized cartoon. And it was weird because I look back at it since we've started this conversation about Chester the Lobster, probably a month ago?
Yeah.
So we started talking about it. And the first thing that came into my mind, transported me back to like 1987. And I can remember whenever Mark brought it in, and I kept scratching my head, and I was like, because Mark was a pretty good artist. So I was like, boy, your like freehand stuff is so much better than this. But the interesting thing, we started this conversation, I was like, wow, from a technology point of view, like, I was kind of glad that happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The unique thing here is that finally, circuitously getting to the point, Chester the Lobster was way ahead of his time as far as a digitally produced comic.
Because papers at the time were still doing it the way the Advocate had been doing it. Industry
the
was
content
just
wasn't though.
Right. Yeah, and so artists generally didn't start adopting digital techniques for 10 years. It was sort of like when Pixar came out, they started pushing, and some other things started pushing the industry. Now, there had been a graphic novel that was designed on the computer. It was called Shatter. It came out in 85. There was also, some cartoons, but most of them were hand-drawn, but there were some that were semi-digital that were uploaded to like CompuServe back in the day. But nothing was a cartoon comic strip, like Doonesbury, like Calvin and Hobbes. Nothing was like that that was produced on a computer in 1988, like as far as I can find. And there is a certain historical significance, apparently, to this. There are books that are written about the history of comic strips and websites that are dedicated to it, and a program at the University of Florida and the University of in Ohio State about pop art and computer, and a lot of it has to do with computer generated and computer animation or computer thing. And it's interesting that the birthplace of digital cartooning is Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Very well could. Right, that's the point.
Which could very well be. Now, this is 8 years before the internet became popular, or 7 years before the internet became popular. So even if you talk about digital cartoons that were uploaded to the internet, this predated them by half a decade. And Chester was an editorial cartoon, which meant that the topics were chosen by the editorial board. So I didn't really get to pick the topics for the cartoon. I was sort of just given them. And my idea was to create a whole underwater world.
And not to get the administration to come knocking on the door.
Right.
Fine line.
So yeah, for those who haven't ever seen it, it's effectively the whole world is us. It's campus, but it's
underwater. It was,
Yeah.
And the thing was, that was the very aggressive thing that got scrapped after a couple episodes because it was difficult. So like Mr. Stifler was the housing director at the time, and he became
Jake.
Mr.
Fischler.
And Mrs.
See what he did there?
Valinsky became Mrs. Shalinsky, and so forth. And Chester had a roommate and all this kind of thing that was going on. Eventually, though, he transitioned into being more of like an exchange student. So he could go drive, and so he could bring in human characters and so forth as it went. Chester started being drawn in super paint, which at the time was very pixelated, like what you would think like 8-bit graphics sort of look like. And then I transitioned to using the Aldus freehand, which eventually merged with Adobe Illustrator. And so I got the curves, and I could draw it using math, which as a computer science guy, I thought it was really cool that Chester got drawn with, physics and math and junk in a printer. But once again, these were tools that were like brand new. We used to get them at the newspaper because they would send us stuff. We'd ask them for things and they'd send it to us. We asked them for software, they would send us software. So we could buy the cutting edge stuff or get some of the cutting edge stuff from these. The early computer software companies wanted it to be used at the university because then people would demand those products coming out.
Yeah.
So when we called up Quark and said we wanted Quark Express, we had discs. When I called Aldus and I wanted PageMaker, I got PageMaker. I got networking, very bad and I had to rewrite some of the software, but I got networking when I asked for it.
Because when you leave here with that mindset, you're going out into the world that is somebody who's I've been 30 years or 40 years in the newspaper industry. When I got hired, this is how it was done. And we have somebody's drawing a cartoon. We have somebody pasting articles together. We have print people. We're going to send it and it's going to get printed. And they wouldn't have been, I'm going to be on the cutting edge because I'm going to go find the software and make it work here's my daily routine. It works. I get a paper out every morning and I cannot mess this system up because I have to get that paper out every morning.
But it stays with a theme that I don't mind repeating that you'll hear from many of the guests on the Tuck Shop podcast that say, as soon as I left Pitt Johnstown, I was 5 years ahead of my people that were interviewing me. Or, we had talked at lunch how, you're right, we had those little square Macs, and those that were fortunate enough to go into journalism went into a newsroom that had typewriters.
Yeah,
the actual Macintosh. You're
had
talking
actual
about.
the square. Those little.
I have one of those too, by the way.
Yes, you do. Yeah, I still have my original from school.
But I think we hear that theme over and over. People come on and say, I went out as an engineer, and when I got into the field, I was, ahead.
Three of us as editors at the time. So I got to meet 6 of the editors, over the editors in chiefs of the newspaper during the time, me being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
3 of them, myself included, got jobs in technology after school, and precisely because we were way ahead of where we were. 2 of them, talked a lot at the reunion that we previously had about that changed their lives because instead of then being a journalist at some and in a dying industry that eventually kind of there, I went to, one of them went to Google and one of them went to Apple through Adobe and through other
that they were using
things.
Here ahead of everyone else.
Yes, and the one person said I was able to parlay sort of a career in technology because of the experience that I had here, and when we talked to just about everybody from that era that came back, the biggest thing they wanted to talk about was the computerization of the newspaper, which, in addition to Chester's interesting because it's kind of a historical footnote that could be clever, but the newspaper itself was way ahead of what a lot of people were doing at the time. And I remember getting out and working with my dad at the multimedia company. We were trying to do what was called desktop video before desktop publishing even had hit. And I was teaching desktop publishing classes down at the art store as a side job because nobody knew how to do it. Some of these early technologies like HTML and like Flash, I was working with like almost immediately out of college because it was to me the next logical step. But some of these things didn't actually become like mainstream for 5 years. Yeah. So and you, Dave, and you echoed the same thing that there's a lot of these individuals that come from out of school and end up at the master's program or end up somewhere else are more advanced than.
Absolutely.
I find that so surprising. Well, I guess I don't find it surprising, but I think this is like a little incubator here.
It's to David's point, it's universal. You talked about it.
Yeah.
You talked about it, David, when you spoke with the chemistry people. I will show you 6 or 7 folks graduating from this department in geography or geology or environmental science that are doing master's level research work as juniors here. And they're like, we go to conferences and they're like, oh, you're wrapping up your master's degree. And they're like, I'm a junior at UPJ. And these other schools are like, I can't believe it.
I don't
and
wanna,
it's across the whole university.
And I don't
UPJ.
think it's
amazing.
surprising. I think it's unexpected.
Yeah.
Because you're expected to go and do your 4 years and get out and you're kind of like on this level and you're not.
Well, here's the things that I found interesting. When I was at Pitt, I got to take advantage of all the stuff downtown. I took all my philosophy classes. I built a philosophy minor, and I took all of them at the main campus, just about. I was able to access all of the library, all of the information. Yeah. I had access to research. I worked on the Cray. the reason I came to school here was because I wanted to program the Cray, and I got to program the Cray, and we had a communication line between Johnstown and Pitt, Maine, where we could communicate back and forth, and I can actually program the system from here. But I actually got to go visit it, which these things were amazing, and you get this world-class access to all of these student teachers and all of these things, but you're also in this really cool ski lodge, where, basically trapped up here for 4 months of the year because it's snowing.
Kind of like The Shining.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
Now, add admissions to the list of people who wants to punch you. Now, don't tell.
Exactly. See, you're good.
No, but that's really it. And I actually kind of always think about because I remember that time. I probably, geez, I can't remember how much HTML and stuff I had to write and work with, and sometimes I like to go out into this outer office with these kids and just shake them and be like, you guys have no idea how, like, oh, my iPhone needs restarted. You have no idea how lucky. You mean you didn't have to program anything to get it to work? You mean you didn't have to drive? You didn't have to. I was just cleaning my desk and.
Oh, you look at 5 1/4.
Oh my goodness!
5 1/4 floppy.
Yeah,
From Dr. Corey's old
those
supply.
made nice coasters.
That's
Like you guys
Bookmarks.
don't, I can't get to my email because I have to relog in. I'm like, okay, imagine carrying 5.5-inch floppies around with you.
Then if you dropped it or folded it,
right.
You're done.
that was it, man. Everything you put on that was gone.
It's interesting.
It's a different world.
It is, and circling back to AI. AI has some similarities to the early personal computer sort of wave. I've watched about 6 of these technical waves happen, in my lifetime, and I've tried to jump on them and tried to sort of be there when they crested. And the personal computer wave, I remember having my first personal computer, which was a TI 99 4A, Texas Instruments.
Did you get that at Radio Shack?
No, my dad got it, and I don't know where he found it. And it, had cartridges, but it also, you could, it had basic operating system. And I would get the printouts, and I would type in the program into the computer so I could play like the lunar lander game, know. And so you type 700 lines of code into the system so you could play it. And
with
then
a box that had some things sticking out.
Right.
It didn't really look like a lunar lander.
And then you'd unplug it or turn it off, and the program was gone.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize till later that you could plug storage in. Once I got my Commodore 64, I started to play with that. Well, here's the thing: you could look at ChatGPT and look at some of these other chat models. It's like every time you use it, it's like the first time. Oh, I'm going to type in these prompts. Oh, I keep prompts. I collect prompts. That sounds a lot like you writing these computer programs that you feed into the chat. Every time you open it up, I got to feed it the prompts again so I get the answer again. Now, I've been working with AI agents, which have memory. And that feels a lot like the next step in the evolution, where they remember their interactions and they do their other stuff. So it's kind of interesting how, yes, the kids today might not have to deal with, like a lot of the programming and building a website from scratch and some of those other things, but there are some really neat cutting edge stuff that feels the same to me.
Like I said, it's going to be cutting edge until you come home one day and you say, "Hell, unlock the door." Yeah. Mark, I can't do that.
Well, I went on vacation and I came back and the entire platform model that I was working on changed to the point at which I had to start over. Like, that's how fast this is happening.
Oh, it is.
The personal computer revolution took about 20 years. Internet took about 10. Phones took about 5. I believe we'll be done with this one by the end of 2026.
And this comment has come up several times. There are young individuals on this campus that were born with some sort of computer in their hand. You know what I mean? Like
I told the story before on the show. It's
so
just
many
when you go to the first class that you teach and you sit down and you're talking about a thing and you realize based on the looks on their faces, it's like none of you were alive at 9/11. And it's like, that's a little bit like, okay, now I feel, I had a class last year, Mark. I said, we're working up towards Christmas. I said, well, it's almost Christmas break. Everyone gets to go home and watch Die Hard. No one had seen Die Hard.
Oh, wow.
And it's just kind of like,
it's
okay.
not a Christmas movie.
So it is a different perspective, but it's kind of neat across the board.
Like, not to go down the rabbit hole, because you're right. I think there was that if you looked at, I guess, technology history, we landed on the moon. Then we didn't do a whole lot for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we got VCRs. You know, at some point,
I see.
the switch got flipped, and we went from DVRs to laser discs to streaming services.
You could probably say the microchip was in there and made it
Something,
pretty big
yeah, maybe that's what it was.
kind of contribution.
I think the milestones that Dave has selected say a lot about him.
Him personally, yes.
Yes, and what he values personally. Laser discs,
Laser discs.
VCRs.
No. The best thing is, in his world, we landed on the moon and then nothing until
can
the 70s.
VCR.
Those laser discs, you could put a whole meal on one of those. Just,
Yeah, but they still didn't have much storage.
but you can still use them as a dish, as a.
Yeah, that's a very good.
sled.
That's a very good analysis, Mark,
Yeah.
of just what David prioritizes here,
Kind of went to
It
the
is.
moon.
and then nothing.
then
What was
nothing.
before the moon landing?
Motorcycles?
The airplane?
Motorcycles
Airplanes.
cool.
Christopher Columbus.
Columbus? Yeah.
That's the things with two wheels, right?
Somebody, someplace up in psychology has to write a paper about you.
Yeah.
What's next? I think what's next is we all just become heads in jars. And
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine. Everything else in my body's failing,
Yeah,
so might as
but
well.
that's what I mean. That's technically.
I've already lost a liver. Might as well just get in a jar now.
I'm going to merge with the AI that's sitting on top of my bar. In my
But before you merge, you're going to go look and see and try to gather some evidence here for your comic.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to prove is that Chester was, if not the earliest, and a very early example of digitally produced artwork that was in a comic strip in a printed publication. And
It was in circulation.
yeah, that was in circulation. I can't. I do believe from my research that there really wasn't anybody really doing a whole lot, especially professionally. They weren't doing it. At the college level, there could have been other people that were in similar approaches. I think there might be some examples in some periodicals, maybe in like early Dungeons and Dragons magazines and so forth. But as a newspaper, a comic strip, I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't have passed muster
Yeah.
to be published at that time.
Well, and I think
That's
the
no attitude to have.
I think the editors would have been like, "This just isn't
well,
mainstream."
and to your point, because we talked about that at lunch too, is the idea that there are certainly going to be schools that have better resources than we did, and with bigger newspapers, bigger departments, but much more focused because they probably would have been much more. These are all the journalism. That's it. The Advocate. The theater we've talked about
absolutely.
reunions,
You had to-
all
you had
these
to-
different groups, all these
you had to
different outside
cannibalize
and
other people.
were
I mean, not in the
comp
sense,
sci.
but-
There was a math person. Here's a biologist or something, and they're like, I want to be on the paper. I feel like doing photography.
on the radio
I want
station.
to be on the radio station. So it's not in a bigger world. It could, school wise, it could be somebody who has that same. Well, you're going to get out of here, and you're going to be drawing by hand and sticking something in a piece of paper that's going to get copied out. So you're going to learn how to do that here, where we had the flexibility to kind of be a little bit of a rebel group and say, hey, we can take this risk.
It was funny. So the way we produced a newspaper back then was we'd write all the articles and get everything ready and get all the text, get all of everything approached. And then the last day we would just mock the newspaper up by hand. And we'd
Or
have
just
a
mock it. We
big
just
big
mock.
light board, and we would throw down a big poster sheet, and then we would just lay out, okay, this is page 1, this is page 2, and so forth. And it was paste up. You'd put the paper through a waxer, and then you'd lay it down. You'd use border tape to make all of the
Scissors.
And literally, we would be there till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then
we'd start at 11 o'clock at night.
but the buses would a bus would show up from the printer, and we'd hand them
No, a Camtram bus. This wasn't a printer bus.
for
This
a
was
while
just,
there
they just
was
put it on Camtram in the seat.
Yeah,
Like,
right
drop
on
this off.
and the bus would stop in front of the Trib newspaper, whatever, and they would pull the box out, and we just prayed that until Brenda got a car.
Yeah, but it was like that series, like Mr. Newspaper gets on the
So
bus.
so
Mr. Newspaper.
I ran for editor in chief in my junior year, and I had been managing editor previously, and I remember sitting in the meeting, and the previous group elects the new group. So it's very nepotistic. So like, so I'm sitting there with all the people from that produced the newspaper.
One cat wouldn't make our bylaw committee.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
It's pretty loose.
it's So I'm sitting there with all the people that have worked on the newspaper the last 2 years, and they said, "Mark, you're not a journalism major, and we've never had a non-journalism major editor in chief. What would you do differently?" I said, "We're never staying up all night to do the newspaper again. I'm going to computerize the newspaper office. We're going to have each individual section have its own computer. We're going to network them. We're going to print them out. I'm going to get a laser printer. I'm going to computerize this entire process." This one sitting next to me,
and I said, "What is this
couldn't-
magic you speak
couldn't
of?
stop laughing.
What is this magic you speak of?"
It's like, that's never going to happen. It's never going to
Blasphemy.
happen. It didn't until the third generation, not me, not Scott, not Bill, but Amy, the editor-in-chief, Amy Nye, Amy was her name, it was Amy Nye at the time, was ahead of me. She graduated in late 92 or whatever. She was the one that finally got the whole thing, I think.
I think I told Mark
computerized.
at that point, take him, his sorcery, and his devil box, and never be seen in the student union again. Be banished.
I don't know if I did good or bad with this.
It was
because-
great. No, but it really was. And that was that interesting. That was that interesting part that Matt talked about, that you had journalists, communication, biologists, computer science, that really it was this United Nations of, and Mark's, I joke, but he's 100% correct. You know, here was somebody who said, "This is what I know to do. I'm going to make this a better production." And it did.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not staying up all night. The production was better. The time.
What was interesting is that within 4 years, that's how it was all being done.
yeah.
Like, and I didn't know that at the time. I mean, I thought it was neat, and we could do it.
It made sense.
It did. It definitely did, and the tools were starting to come out. So it wasn't like genius to figure out that desktop publishing was happening, because we had the laser printer already, and we had the Macs with the
This was this was 90. This was early 90s. You weren't there with the printing. You were
Right.
Gutenberg saying, "Wait, hold on that printing press. Let's wait
that's-
for the computer."
I think that's what
It
the Trib was doing.
Yeah, no, it
The
wasn't-
Trib was using the
It wasn't-
Gutenberg.
Yeah, it wasn't like
Still might be.
the issue was
Not really. They're doing good.
that the adoption of this technology took that much time because these industries were very, set in their ways.
But the
not
different-
because
right.
it didn't exist.
But you were, and this came up again. You know, we talked about this at the reunion. This came up time and time again. You were young, you didn't know any better,
Yeah.
and nobody said you couldn't.
Yeah.
So you just went and did, like, this idea, like this thing you call computers. How does this work? And you were like, this goes here, and then boom, you were like,
yeah.
you failure. I'm not saying that we were trailblazers, but I think there was this sense that you were young, it was diverse, and people just felt that, why
Well,
not?
when we went to the conference, and I'm still looking for evidence of this as well.
This is
when
like
we-
Geraldo in the safe.
Well, we used to, yeah, right, exactly, exactly. Well, we used to get sent. There was a newspaper conference in
New York, of all places.
and
Send college
and-
kids to New York
Yeah, which
over St. Patrick's Day weekend.
this
every year.
this was.
Oh,
not,
you've told me stories of this.
Yes,
Not good.
This was not a smart move by the university.
By anyone.
However, what I got to go on 2 of those. One with your crew.
Yeah. Yep.
That one I don't even remember. But one of the things that we did is we would always submit our paper for evaluation at the time. So you would submit it for evaluation. And I went with your group. I was graphics editor at the time. And so I submitted all of our artwork to a particular group when they were there, and they evaluated it and they gave us grades. And so there was a panel. And then they sat down and evaluated it, and then they had like a little interview with you afterwards, and then they gave you something. I can't remember what it was. And I remember wanting to talk about how cool the graphics were, and all they wanted to talk about was, you did this on a computer? You're generating all of this on a computer? No one's doing this. Like, this is not the way it's working. How are you doing that? And I remember coming back from that conference, and this was like 89 or so, because
Yeah, it
was
would
like,
have been 88, 87.
and I remember coming back from that conference thinking, we're really cutting edge here because this wasn't just for college newspaper conference. This was a newspaper conference. College was part of it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, yep.
It was like a component of it. I wish I had some of those notes and some of those things from that meeting, but it was pretty apparent at the time that this would take millions of dollars to convert the newsroom. So
Sure, it was something big you're running. Here it's relatively small, and there's the resources.
I can just remember we got up extra early, rushed down to see the St. Patrick's Day parade, only to be disappointed it was nothing but cops and firemen. Remember that? We were like, it's going to be great. Let's go. We got up on front. We're like, cops.
I do remember.
Firemen.
Yeah, I do
That was
remember your disappointment in that.
I was crushed.
I'm pretty sure we almost got arrested.
No, well, there's cops and firemen everywhere.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we almost got arrested.
No Snoopy, no Big Bird, nothing. Cops, firemen.
All right, Big Bird.
What a chip.
We're going to let Mark go and start his search. Thanks for stopping by, at least, and spending a bunch of time with us and talking about your search. And if you find something out,
we're
going to get you back.
You'll be the first to know if we can figure this out. So
we're going to Geraldo and El Capone's safe.
Right. That'll be great. Everyone, enjoy your week, and we'll be back for next Wednesday for another episode of the Tuck Shop Podcast. The Tuck Shop Podcast is recorded live on the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown campus. Update your contact information with us by visiting johnstown.pitt.edu/alumni. Connect with us online via Facebook and LinkedIn, or consider donating to the university at give2, giveto.pitt.edu/giveupj.
This has been a production of Quantum Wave Media. Views expressed do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown.